In the arrest narrative on the Glenn recording, I can be heard saying three distinct things. No, I refuse to comply, and step away from me. So if the Glenn recording is a forgery, where did each of those elements come from? Let's start with number 2 on the list. I refuse to comply. In my 2016 video, I stated that I did recall actually saying those words. However, in my version of events, I said them before John Glenn exited his patrol car.
I'm thinking, oh, this isn't good, but I ask why. He says, because I told you to. I'm thinking, what is that? That's not a reason. So I said, I refuse to comply. He gets out of his car, and he starts walking over.
So if my recollections were correct, this piece of dialogue would have been taken from its original context, from before Glenn exits his car, and moved to a little bit later on the recording. Now let's look at number 3, step away from me. I remember saying something very different when John Glenn grabbed me without warning. I remember saying, however, I do remember saying step away from me as I was brought into the Pizza Hut parking lot, and there are 4 instances of me repeating this phrase in that location on the Glenn recording.
Step away from me. Please step away from me. Please step away from me. Please step away from me.
In fact, the second one of these instances is almost completely identical to the dialogue heard in the beginning of the recording. To prove this, I've prepared a short demonstration.
I believe this dialogue was copied, altered slightly, and then moved to where it currently is on the recording. Now let's look at number 1. If the Glenn recording is a forgery, where did that no come from? I think I know, because I remember saying it, but not in that context. There's something odd about a conversation that happens a few minutes into the Glenn recording. It's something you could easily miss if you didn't know what to look for. Listen.
You've been drinking?
I was going for a walk, officer.
Have you been drinking?
It was important to the safety of this town that the...
Okay, you're not listening to questions. Have you been drinking? Any type of drugs? Prescribed or otherwise?
Did you hear that? He really wants an answer to that question, and then he moves right on to the next question without getting one.
Okay, you're not listening to questions. Have you been drinking? Any type of drugs?
That's when I remember saying, no, right after he asked whether I've been drinking. John Glenn remembered that as well.
And I'm like, what is your major malfunction? Hello? I said, are you drinking? I don't have to comply. I said, you're not listening to questions. Have you been drinking? No. Are you on any drugs? No.
He even wrote it down in his report. I asked the subject if he had been drinking, and he said no. I asked him if he had been taking any drugs, and he said no. So we both remember that I said no at that point in the conversation. But is there any physical evidence to support that? If you listen carefully to the Grasso recording, you can almost hear it.
You're not listening to questions.
I sent the Grasso recording to forensic expert Arlo West for enhancement.
You don't understand?
There it is. But wait a minute. The no on the Glen arrest narrative has truck noise in the background. But it isn't the same truck.
There's something you don't understand?
So if someone took it from the "have you been drinking" conversation, they would have to have separated it from the original truck noise it had in the background. Is that even possible? Is that even possible? Is that even possible? Is that even possible?
Is that even possible? Is there a way to separate dialogue from overlapping sounds on the same recording? I found a company called Audionamics that produces software for this exact purpose. Here's a demonstration of their technology in a strikingly similar situation.
Je voudrais bien savoir comment tu vas réunir l'orchestre, monsieur. Je passe au rouge. Les flics tarderont pas à te retrouver. Ils ont ton adresse?
Non, ils ont pas mon adresse, j'en ai mis une fausse sur mon permis.
In that example, dialogue was separated from the noise of a passing train. Separating dialogue from the noise of a passing truck isn't too far off. In fact, I used Audionamics software to create the following reconstruction.
Have you been drinking? Any type of drug? Have you been drinking? Any type of drug?
That's the final piece of the puzzle. Now we have all three. No, I refuse to comply, and step away from me. If we assume the additional dialogue from John Glenn was either specifically recorded for this forgery,
or taken from previous arrests of his, then we have all the pieces we need to construct our narrative.
Step over here. Step over here. Come here. Come here. There's something you don't understand? Okay, step to the front of my patrol car right now. All right. Turn around, put your hands behind your back. Gets to the sidewalk, cuts the sidewalk, turns around, goes back the other direction, doesn't stop, doesn't wait. Gets to the McDonald's side, cuts the sidewalk, turn around, back out in front of traffic again. So I go make contact with him at Pizza Hut. I said, step over to my car. What are you doing? He's like, step over to my car. I refuse to comply. Really? So I went up and went hands-on with him. The fight was on.